Nina and I are here today, final LoftTalk of the year.
Yes.
We're going to talk to you about how you can get the most out of your marketing agency in 2025. So you've probably seen me before. I'm Beth. I'm head of business development here at Digitaloft. My background is very much coming at this from the agency side. I've always worked in agencies. I started out in paid media, but then quickly moved into client services. I've worked as client services director. And now at Digitaloft, I kind of combine both client services and business development for the agency. So that's kind of where my expertise is coming from. But between myself and Nina, we can cover a lot of ground on kind of how you can get the best out of your marketing agency. So I will hand over to Nina, who can introduce herself properly and tell you a little bit about where she's come from.
Thank you, Beth. So, I'm the commercial director here at Digitaloft, and I've been with the agency around 6 years now. But first, let me start by saying we get it. And I can actually prove to you how much I get it by telling you a little story. So 8 years ago, I started a new role as a digital marketing manager at a business in the online travel sector. And I remember this day so clearly, as it was one of those, oh my God, we're in the shit moments. I had received a notification from Google, and it was a manual penalty notice for the website I was working on. And for those of you who don't know, this means the site is basically no longer ranking on Google. So it turns out the MD had taken it upon himself to do a bit of link building, and he had bought thousands of spammy links. And now I had a domain that had been de-indexed. So I immediately started the hunt for an SEO agency. I spoke to partners for weeks, trying to find someone who actually understood the nuances of a link cleanup and rebuilding that trust with Google. And then my last meeting was with James Brockbank. And the moment we sat down, I could really tell he wasn't just trying to win business. He was genuinely invested in solving the problem. And today I'm not the client anymore. I'm part of the Digitaloft team and the furniture. And from being the one desperately looking for an agency 8 years ago I could trust, to now helping hundreds of brands solve their own digital challenges, I have really seen it all. And through that experience, I've learned getting the most out of your digital marketing agency isn't just about choosing the best proposal or that flashiest pitch deck. It's about finding partners who are all in and who really understand your struggles and who are really ready to roll up their sleeves and get results. But there's also a lot of responsibility that sits with you as a business and a brand to ensure that smooth partnership. So today, I am excited to share some of these lessons and insights with you that will help get the most out of your agency partnership. So let's dive in. So firstly, it's just about setting those foundations. And the first one, when we think about setting foundations, is financial transparency. And as a business, you might wonder, why does this matter? You might think, I don't want to share my actual budget with the agency or how long I plan on working with an agency. I don't want to give too much away. But sharing this information with your agency really helps build that trust and allows agencies to craft that strategic, tailored plans. This trust will strengthen your relationship with your agency and really, really motivate them to do their best work. And the best work means that you will see the results and really feel that sense of collaboration. Ultimately, if the agency has a clear understanding of your budget, it shows your commitment and it will enable strategies that really focuses on that long-term growth. So the next area in setting the foundations, and in my opinion, probably one of the most important areas to focus on when thinking about strengthening relationships and getting the most out of your agency, is the onboarding process. Having that really solid onboarding process is critical, as it gives you the opportunity to align the agency with your business goals, your culture, and processes from the get-go. So at Digitaloft, we have a really tried and tested onboarding process. And some of these fundamentals that we insist on are team responsibilities. So really sharing who is responsible for what, not just on the agency side, but on your brand and business side as well. We have a really nice knowledge sharing session. So this can be up to an hour where you as a business and a brand takes the time to share as much information as you can about your business in general, but also the real fundamentals of how you drive revenue. Then obviously you need to set your clear timings and deliverables. Another area to cover, and it's also really helpful for an agency, is to go through, if you've worked with an agency before, what has worked well, what hasn't, what learnings can the new agency take from mistakes perhaps made in the past. Go through your goals for the next 12 months across the business, not just your department goals. Go through the wider business goals. Another one to really sort of hone in on is how you measure your return on investment internally. So these metrics need to go beyond those contractual KPIs that you already have in place and really focus on how you measure success within your business. For example, what are the metrics that you report on internally to your key stakeholders? Beth is actually going to go into this in a lot more detail in a few minutes. So the next one to cover in your onboarding session is who's your customers, who's your target audience, do you have any reports on customer personas you can share to really sort of focus on that as well. Then the next one is sharing your branding guidelines and your tone of voice guidelines, which is pretty much a given. Talk about your competitors as well. So what are they doing well? What do you see your competitors doing that you think, oh, I wish we were doing that? And also, what do you see them do and think, oh, we wouldn't want to be seen doing that? And then one of the most important things is go through your internal sign-off process. Is there any roadblockers that an agency should be aware of and help them to avoid any pitfalls with getting strategies signed off? Now, talking about roadblocks, this brings us nicely onto cross-department collaboration. And at Digitaloft, I think Beth will agree with me, this is probably an area where we see one of the biggest hindrances when it comes to brands and agencies working together. If you have other departments within your business that are not aligned with your digital marketing goals, you will get pushback on strategies you're trying to get signed off or executed with your agency. But then on the flip side, if you align everyone across all the departments within your business on your shared goals as a digital marketing department, you will eliminate those bottlenecks and confusion. And this really creates that space for innovation and bringing in diverse perspectives. And it builds relationships with your agency. Again, fostering that real trust and efficiency. You have to think of your agency as an extension of your team. Strong internal alignment with your business and across departments really ensures that the agency's success becomes your success. So how would you go about smoothing out these misalignments? Induction days is a really good one. Introduce the agency to stakeholders and other departments within your business. Also introduce the agency to any current agencies you're working with and set out really clear ways of working together. For both of these inductions, I would encourage you to meet in person, go out for lunch, a drink, or even a team building exercise and really build those relationships. Make sure you involve all stakeholders from the start. So anyone that's going to be part of the sign-off process or signing off strategies or implementing any of the work that the agency is doing, involve them from the pitch process from the start to get that real buy-in. And then also share successes. Share wins with other departments. We actually have some clients and they'll do like a really nice internal newsletter, for example, where they shout about the coverage we secure as a digital PR agency. And then also invite these stakeholders to reviews, to monthly meetings, to QBRs, to again really help with that buy-in. So now if we move on to cultural fit and alignment. So why is cultural fit also part of setting these foundations? So your agency that you've chosen really has to understand your values, your beliefs, your tone, and your personality to ensure all the strategies that they come up with really reflect your brand identity. Shared working styles really foster better communication and smoother workflows. So making the day-to-day operations more efficient. We've already spoken about trust and loyalty and how important this is for success. So we really see where teams are aligned on that cultural fit and where they have the shared values, they will really approach challenges with similar mindsets to yourselves. And it really enables those quicker, more effective solutions. And overall, it really does impact your long-term success and the relationship with your agency. So how would we ensure that cultural fit? During the onboarding process, you share your brand values, your tone of voice, your working styles. How do you like to get things done? Really take time to understand your agency's culture as well. How do they work? What are their values? What's their personality? And does it really fit with yours? And then foster that open communication and mutual respect to create that collaborative, trusting relationship. And now I'm going to hand over to Beth, and she's going to chat a bit more about communication and accountability.
Thank you, Nina. So yeah, kind of Nina's talked about that overarching relationship and how you really set those foundations for getting the success out of your marketing agency. What I want to touch on more is the specific communication and the accountability between both agency and business. So first of all, let's talk about measuring success. As Nina said, that onboarding process is so vital to a successful relationship. And as part of that, it's really important that you as a business are really clear in communicating to your agency what success looks like for you and how you measure success internally. So first of all, as I said, what does success look like for your business? What are the metrics that you are measuring? What do you report to internally to your board, to your kind of seniors, internally to those key stakeholders that we've mentioned are so important to get involved in the relationship? And also, why are those metrics important to your business? Really kind of hone in on with your agency what these metrics mean to you, why it's vital to have them reported on. And that means that your agency not only can make sure that they're always covering that base, but they can also tailor their reporting to make sure that the metrics that they're giving you are as effective and efficiently reported on as possible. And then that leads us nicely on to how the agency can help you with how you report on success. This is a really good one because even as a business, you might think that you've kind of really nailed that success piece internally, but really do lean on your agency to kind of identify new areas of the success and where there might be missed opportunity in the market for you as well. One way that you can do this is by sharing kind of existing internal reports at the start of the relationship during that onboarding process. And that gives them not only an example of how you report to internal stakeholders, but it also kind of gives them an example of how you structure your reporting. And it allows them to kind of point out where those gaps might be and where there is further opportunity for success. So once you've established what success looks like for your business with your agency, it's really important, as I said, that you work out collaboratively on how you measure it. And probably notice Nina and I mention collaboration a lot. It's something that we're huge advocates here at Digitaloft, whether it's between client and agency or the teams and agencies that you work with as a business as well. So some of these ways that we think it's really important that you incorporate into measuring success is having those clear reporting touch points. We're really, really transparent with our reporting at Digitaloft. We're talking weekly, bi-weekly, sometimes often monthly as well. That's where we kind of get more agencies or teams involved. Then we'll also have our quarterly business reviews and our annual reviews as well. And it just kind of really makes sure that we're all aligned and everyone's on the same page throughout the relationship. But it's also really important for us as an agency to understand from our clients when goals change. Now, the quarterly business reviews and annual reviews are a really good opportunity for this, because that's when we as an agency kind of choose to move away from that day-to-day performance piece and focus more on that overarching strategy. So that's a really great opportunity for you as a business to kind of be really clear on how things are going for your business, talking about financial transparency as well, as Nina mentioned. And also kind of what are you doing in response to kind of how things are going? Do you need to pivot your whole strategy? Is there something that we can do as an agency to pivot strategy? Just making sure that, if goals are shifting, our strategy is shifting with it in order to amplify success. As we've said, involve other teams, agencies, and key stakeholders. This is so, so important. It makes sure that the communication is absolutely transparent and clear across the board, and establish those key reflection points. So always talk about when you're next going to touch on kind of strategy or performance, so that deadlines, or when the next point of communication is for everyone. As I said, some of our favourite ways to do this are in the form of quarterly and annual reviews. Next up, I want to talk about avoiding scope creep. And again, this comes into that really important onboarding session that Nina mentioned. So scope creep is the uncontrolled growth of a project's requirements, often after the project has started. It occurs when the project scope isn't properly defined, documented, or controlled. I did actually have to read that definition. I'm sure you couldn't tell because it was so seamless. But essentially, scope creep is where you're not aligned at the start of the relationship. So it makes it really easy for things to go off track, conversations digress, and everything just gets a little bit lost and messy. And unfortunately, this can lead to very, very significant delays, duplicated work on both sides or between other agencies, an inefficient use of budget. And when I say that, I often mean overspending, which for a business is something that you always want to avoid. It can also lead to miscommunication, which, as we know, can really, really kind of send things west when it comes to relationships. And all of this obviously leads to unavoidable mistakes. And that's what kind of, we as an agency, you as a business, you never want to see those avoidable mistakes pop up, because it doesn't make anybody look good. So avoiding scope creep, as Nina said, that solid onboarding is so key. In that process, make sure that everyone is 100% clear on what the objective is from this relationship. What does success look like? Have clear roadmaps in place so that there's always a touch point for you to refer to with your agency to find out how things are progressing. Is anything not going to plan? Are tasks on track? Having visual roadmaps is something that is really key for our clients at Digitaloft. Having measurable goals in place as well, be it in the form of KPIs or forecasts. This is something that's always going to be really, really helpful in avoiding scope creep, as it gives you a point that you're always working towards. It might change, it might shift, and that's fine, as long as those goals are always in place and always communicated effectively. So yeah, having clear communication at multiple levels. At Digitaloft, we often find that we work with numerous multidisciplinary teams. So it's really important that no matter what level we're talking at, everyone is aware of what we're doing as an agency, what you're working towards as a business, and how those two frameworks are aligned. And this leads us nicely onto reporting, making sure that our reporting is always aligned with what you need to see as a business, and making sure that we're tailoring that reporting as well. It doesn't have to be one size fits all when it comes to reporting and measuring success. So it's always just about making sure that from the outset, your agency knows exactly what you need to see in those reports. And as I said, sharing examples at the beginning of the relationship is a really nice way to kind of start building out those reports and what's going to be effective for you. So coming specifically onto communication and feedback and some of the kind of key points for us as an agency when we're building out our relationships with our clients. And if these things aren't already taking place for you as a business with your marketing agency, I would really strongly recommend you having that conversation with them, because there's some really kind of easy tweaks and changes that you can make here that will have a big effect. So having those regular check-ins, whether it's bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, it really builds that trusting and open relationship. And having that open relationship allows you and your agency to be in a position where you can provide open feedback that prevents any misunderstandings. When we talk about open feedback, it doesn't necessarily mean a negative thing either. It's about having that relationship where it's honest and it's transparent and everyone understands the need for feedback and what that feedback is there to achieve. So leading nicely on to making that feedback specific. So using data and examples to help your agency understand why you're providing the feedback to them and what you want to get out of that feedback as well. So what's the next step? What are some actions that you need your agency to take as a result of this feedback? And when do you want to see those actions? Having collaborative frameworks in place is so important, involving those other teams and agencies, but making sure that no one's stepping on any toes, no one's kind of gatekeeping anything. Having frameworks in place that are completely transparent and open to all is such a good way of making sure that everyone is aligned. At Digitaloft, the reason that we love collaboration so much is because we're real advocates of kind of sharing our knowledge and expertise with other teams and agencies. And we love it when other teams and agencies do the same with us. It really means that everyone gets the most out of the relationship. Yeah. Most importantly, you as a business. And then finally, one of my favourite things that I often harp on about a lot at Digitaloft, and I'm sure the team would attest to this, is positive challenges. And again, this kind of links back to feedback quite nicely, but everyone, all parties should be encouraged to positively challenge one another. Again, it doesn't mean kind of pointing out mistakes. It doesn't mean saying, this isn't working. Why have you done that? It's about saying, I don't quite understand why we're moving in this direction, maybe with a strategy. Can you go into that a little bit more detail? So it's just about positively challenging different teams or different stakeholders, different agencies to find out exactly why they're doing what they're doing. So what's the logic behind this strategy they've got in place, or the moves that they're making with regards to reaching your business goals? And likewise, you should be accepting of those challenges from your agency as well. It's something that is so vital to a successful relationship between business and agency. Next up is leveraging your agency's expertise. And I've got some kind of do's and don'ts around this, but I will start off by saying that when you engage a digital marketing agency, be it SEO and digital PR and content like we do at Digitaloft, be it PPC, be it influencer marketing, just remember that you're paying them for their expertise. And I'm sure that for a lot of you, this means that you're paying them quite a significant amount of money. So really trust them and allow them the space to show that expertise off to you with the results that they can generate. So first of all, don't micromanage them. This is so much easier than said than done. I appreciate it, but it's something that's really important to get right from the beginning. The main reason being that when you're micromanaging, you are taking up a lot of your agency's time, and that is time that you're paying for. So what you want to make sure you're doing is giving them the space and time to kind of, deliver those results. Absolutely ask questions when needed, but don't micromanage, because you'll just find that it means that your budget's being used inefficiently above all. So do remember that you're paying your agency for their expertise. Do trust your agency to guide you with their knowledge. So it can be really, really easy to kind of feel like you're an expert in your field, but remember that your agency is an expert in their field as well. And it's that collaboration between the two levels of expertise that really lead to a success. So really do have that trust and that belief in your agency's guidance. Don't be afraid to positively challenge your agency and encourage them to do the same. I just mentioned this, so important. And I think once you're able to do that and have your agency do the same with you, that's when you get the great relationships that are really long lasting and they always lead to success. Do introduce your agency to your other teams and experts. As we've said, collaboration is key. This is how your business is going to thrive as well. Having that open communication and having everyone's expertise laid out on the table is going to be so key to thriving for you. And do share examples of how collaboration has benefited your business in the past. So if you've maybe worked with agencies in the past where, you've had them working with, between digital PR team and traditional PR agency, and you've seen the success there, explain that to everyone, because then they can learn from that and they know that they're in kind of good hands going forward. That's just one example, but kind of exemplifying how those relationships work successfully in the past is really key to how they work successfully in the future as well. So to kind of wrap things up, with clear communication and true accountability on both sides, and that is key, it has to be on both sides, you can successfully make your agency an extension of your team. And as an agency ourselves, that really is music to our ears. And this is what we really kind of wanted to get to with this talk today, is that it doesn't have to be, agency and client or agency and business.
Yeah.
your agency should be an extension of your team, and that's how you're going to get the best out of them. And that's everything from us today. So we will come through to some questions. I'll just have a little look to see if any came through. But this was the last Loft Talk of 2024, but we will be back in January 2025. We've got some brand new segments, including kind of external speakers, journalists, and obviously more of the Digitaloft team as well. So keep an eye out for that. We're also going to be transferring all of this year's Loft Talk over to a podcast as well, so you can listen to it audio only if you want to. So watch out for that on socials too. So let's have a look. We've got a question here. So this is about, I'm going to let you answer this one.
Oh, God.
So someone has asked us for sign-off processes on press releases and things like that. They had with a previous client, they went from approximately 24 hours to weeks, months even, with one release following the appointment of a new CEO. So how would you, Nina, respond when that CEO then questions why the level of press coverage has decreased because of those delays?
Yeah, I think one of the first things is to be honest and really put out there the delays you've been experiencing. I think it's really important, like we've said, with building that trust and that collaboration between the business and the agency, that as an agency, you project the trust back and say, we have been experiencing delays because of X, Y, and Z, and put it out on the table. Sometimes as an agency, you might think because of, if there's a more senior person involved, like a CEO, you should be perhaps a little bit nervous to put your point across. But I think just being honest helps build that trust.
Yeah.
And I would definitely put the reasons out there for why things are delayed.
I agree.
And it's always good to put some things on paper down as well. Like we've sent this, you didn't reply till this, and really show that pattern that's emerging.
Yeah, I agree. I would just add to that to never forget like the human element. I think sometimes especially kind of since the pandemic and things like that, where everything is much more remote nowadays as well, people often forget that behind a keyboard, behind a screen, there is just another person there. And that person always appreciates honesty and transparency. So if delays are taking place and it is because of something that is happening on either side, just remember that you're just talking to another person. Just be honest about it, be open about it. It's not about throwing accusations around or blaming anyone. It's about identifying the issue and then finding a solution to it. And I think going to people with solutions rather than just the problem is always really helpful too. Yeah.
And I would say as well, as an agency, if you are then getting less coverage because sign-off processes are taking longer, it's much easier than to go, if we had more sign-off, we can get more out there. Take it back to your onboarding phase as well. What are the expectations you set out to start with, perhaps before the new CEO came into effect, and take it back to those foundations again as well. And really offer your solutions as well. What can you do as an agency to help the business, and then internal departments get sign off quicker? Anything you can do to make things move quicker. Ask them, what are the roadblocks? What can you implement to make things better and easier to get sign off?
Definitely.